Welcome to another episode of Turkish Cuisine. I'm your host, Janine Aloisi, and we're off on another culinary pursuit of fine Turkish food. There are a variety of different dishes that make up this cuisine, and how they come together to create feast-like meals offers a lot of enjoyment. Let's visit Jennifer's kitchen and see how we could get started.
Hello and welcome to my kitchen. Turkish cuisine is one of the richest of its kind. It dates back to the Ottoman Empire and has over hundreds of varieties of dishes. Today we're going to start with karnıyarık. Karnıyarık literally translates to split belly, because that's what you do. You split the belly of the eggplant. So for our karnıyarık, we will need 2 skinny green peppers, 1 Italian green pepper finely chopped, 1 onion which we're going to grate, half a bunch of parsley finely chopped, 4 baby eggplants, 2 tomatoes, a half a pound of ground beef, oil for frying, 3 tablespoons of tomato sauce, 1 teaspoon of tomato paste, a little bit of allspice, a little bit of paprika, and of course, salt and pepper to taste. So first what we're going to do is just get our eggplants ready. Now what I like to do is just cut off the heads and then peel them, and then you got to get a bowl of salted water ready because we're going to soak them. We're going to soak them for about a half an hour. We're going to soak them in the salt water because this allows the bitter juices to be absorbed as well as let the salt penetrate in. So what you want to do is just peel it around kind of like so, and you're going to take your knife and just split the belly, but don't go all the way down because you don't want to pierce the bottom. You just want it good enough so that you can open it up and stuff it, because that's what we're going to do. So you just split the belly and put it in your salt water. And you want to do that with all your eggplants. So now what we'll do is just get our stuffing ready. So we'll just get our little pot hot, and you only need a little one because we only have a half a pound of ground beef. You could just put our ground beef in there. You don't have to wait for it to get too hot. Now we're going to grate our onion. And I like to grate the onion because it gets it really nice and fine, plus the fact you get all the juice of the onion in there without getting little bits. So let's do that. So once you're done grating your onion, you could saute this up just a little bit. Now you don't have to add any oil or butter to this because you're going to have all the natural fat from the beef. And you can already see that it's starting to make a lot of liquid. So you just want to saute that up together. And now we're just going to grate our tomato. And I like to use 1 fresh tomato because it gives it a great flavor and color. But sometimes 1 tomato is light, so that's why I like to add just a teaspoon of tomato paste. So you see, you get all the flesh of the tomato inside the pot. Now we're going to save that other tomato for the end, because at the end we're going to need some tomato wedges right on top of our eggplants. Now as you can see, there's a lot of water accumulating right now. You just want to keep cooking it until it soaks up all that liquid. And we're also going to add in our chopped peppers. Gives it a nice little crunch. And here's a good time to add our salts. Maybe like a teaspoon of salt, some pepper. And we can add the parsley in at the very end because the parsley is going to steam up anyway. And this doesn't have to be fully cooked because afterwards we're going to stuff our fried eggplants and then put them in a pan and then cook that for about a half an hour. But you just want to keep cooking this until it soaks up all that liquid. So you have to wait until a little bit of the water is evaporated. And then we could add in our paprika, just a pinch of that. And also I like to add allspice. Allspice is a great thing on köftes or karnıyarık. Gives it a great flavor, just about half a teaspoon. And here I like to add a teaspoon of tomato paste. Just a teaspoon because it gives it a great color. And my husband, he loves anything with tomato sauce, tomato paste. So I try to make it the way he likes it. Now it's time to add our parsley, and we add it in at the very end because it cooks from the steam anyway. Not to mention we're just going to put it in our mixture as well. And then when you mix the parsley in, you can see the really great authentic look of Turkish cuisine. It's really beautiful. And this we don't even need to let it cook because it's going to steam. So we'll just cover it. And now I got my skillet over here. And what I like to do is just get it really hot before I pour in my oil. Now for oil, you can use sunflower or corn oil. Anything that's kind of light and has a great frying texture. So what we're going to do now is just squeeze our eggplants, try to get as much water out. I like to lay them out on a paper towel as well so it could soak up any excess water we have. Just squeeze them out. And then we're going to get ready for frying. And we're going to fry them till they're a nice golden brown, but not all the way through because they're going to keep cooking again afterwards. Just want to get them a nice golden brown and soft enough so that you can open them up and get them ready for stuffing. So once your skillet's nice and hot, now we can pour in the oil. And I always like to get the skillet hot first because it gets the oil hot faster. And we'll just place our eggplants. Now these are going to shrink when you cook them. So you really want to see it sizzling and bubbling up. And you don't have to cook it all the way through because again, we're going to cook it later after we stuff it. Just keep turning it around and around till it gets nice and soft on all sides. You can even smell the aroma of the eggplant. Eggplant has such a distinct smell. It's really mouth-watering and gets your appetite oozing for more food. It's great. So once you see your eggplants are nice and soft, and you could see in the heat that they already expand a little bit. Where you split the belly, see it just pierced a little hole, and it's already expanding for you. Now's a good time to fry up your skinny green peppers. Now you gotta be careful with these because if these are the really spicy kinds, then they'll pop when you put them in. You just want to do a very light fry with these because you're going to place them over on top. My husband loves eating these. He eats these plain. He eats them even without that. Sometimes he doesn't care about that. He wants a lot of those, and he likes the extra hot ones. So when we're cooking the hot ones, they really splash in my kitchen. You just want a light fry, and then take them out quickly. See, that's enough. Got a nice fry over here, and a nice one over here. You can even see the color, how really rich and green it is. All right, so now we'll just put this over here. And now I just have a baking dish over here. We'll place in our eggplants, and as you can see, I've drained them on a paper towel to drain up all excess oil. But you know, if you wanted to leave the oil, you can because you're baking it anyway, and sometimes all that oil tastes really great. Now you want to leave a little room because you're going to stuff them. So now what you want to do is maybe take 2 tablespoons because you need the dull spoon to help you open up your eggplants. So just take the back of the spoons and kind of open them up a little bit. And you can see they open up really easy and nice. They're really soft. Just want to open them up so you can get as much stuffing as you can. Now if you had pierced it all the way through, then you wouldn't have been able to stuff it. That's why you got to make sure when you pierce it not to get all the way through. Just take your stuffing mixture and just start filling it up. You can even smell the aroma coming from the allspice. Just a little bit of allspice gives it a really strong, pungent smell, and it really makes the food appetizing. It's like you're gonna say, I can't wait to eat it. So now see how you stuff them? You don't overflow it. We have a little bit of meat left, so if you wanted, you can do less. But this is actually great. You could just eat it by yourself on the side. So what we're going to do now is add our boiling water, which I have right here, and I'm going to mix it in with the tomato sauce. Now, if you didn't have tomato sauce, you can do tomato paste. Just get a tablespoon of tomato paste, mix it in with the water, and just pour it all on top. And you're going to cover this with aluminum foil and let it bake in the oven on 350 degrees for about 15 to 20 minutes. But if you wanted to, you can also do this on the stovetop. Sometimes if you have a nice skillet, you can just get that skillet ready with the cover and cover it and do it. And for the skillet, you usually need about a half an hour. But keep eyeballing it. Make sure it doesn't get too mushy. You just want the right consistency and the great tenderness. Now what I'm doing with this tomato is just I'm cutting some wedges. So I'll take the corners and just cut some wedges because we love to add just a little bit of tomato. In fact, if you have a barbecue or a grill, we love to just barbecue some tomatoes. It really makes them soft and juicy, and it really cuts the flavor of the meat, so it's kind of like you're having a sauce. So you just want to add one tomato up on top. And here is where we add our 2 skinny green peppers. Now, of course, if this was in my house, we'd be adding like 4 or 5. So you just want to cook it. Have my tin foil right here. I'm just going to put this in the oven for about 15 minutes, and then I'm going to check on it and see how it's doing. So while we're waiting for our carne to bake in the oven, now it's time to make our delicious side dish. What we're going to make today is domatesli bulgur, which is basically a bulgur with a delicious tomato sauce. So for our ingredients, we will need 2 tomatoes finely chopped, 1 Italian green pepper, 1 onion, 1 cup of bulgur, 1 cup of chicken stock, 1 tablespoon of tomato paste, 2 tablespoons of butter, 2 cloves of garlic, and a little bit of salt, and of course pepper. So what we can do now is start softening up our onions with the butter. We have our pot right here. We have 2 tablespoons of butter. And if you don't want to use butter, you can use corn oil. It's much lighter. But I like the butter. It gives it a great flavor. I also like to add a little extra virgin olive oil just to give it a nice richness. So we'll do that. And also in the meantime, if you want, you could start boiling up your chicken stock. Because of course, anytime I like to add liquid, I always like to add it boiling. So what we're going to do is just wait for this to soften up a little bit, and then we can gradually add in the rest of our ingredients. We'll add in our tomatoes and our peppers. Now if you wanted, you can grate the tomatoes as well. That way you can get the flesh of the tomato, and it really gets a nice puree, and it'll be almost soupy. So you could do that as well, but I gave them a fine chop, so it's almost the same thing. So what I'll do now is crush our garlic. We have 2 cloves of garlic here. And if you like garlic, you can add more. You just want to press it in there, or at home you could give it a nice fine chop as well. That's okay. Just want a little bit. And then once you got all this going, now we can add our bulgur. Just make sure that you wash it, because it's always good to wash your bulgur before you cook it. And as you can see, the 1 cup, it expands. So it may look like it's more than 1 cup later on, but it's really not. Now we can add in our salts. Saute this up just a little. And then we're going to add our 1 cup of boiling stock. And then once this is in, now we can add the tomato paste. And once you add the tomato paste, just mush it up in there. Let it get really nice and liquidy. This is going to give it that great orange color. So what we're going to do is just mix this all up, let it come to a boil, then we're going to cover and let it simmer for about 10 minutes. We'll check it after 10 minutes and see if it needs a little longer, but max time on this is 20 minutes or until all your liquid is soaked up. now it's been about 10 minutes. You just want to check and see how it's doing. It looks like all the water's been soaked up. So now what I like to do is place a paper towel over it, cover it, and let this really steam up nicely and get nice and flaky.
Orhan Yegan is the chef and owner of Ship Shack restaurant. His simple approach to dining appeals to the fast-paced lifestyle of the New Yorker. Let's go check it out.
In this restaurant, I want to show how the fast food it can be. Because in this country, when you say a fast food, like everybody thinks that it's a food that it's not as good as in the regular restaurant. So, and I make sure that you eat fast, but the food is good. So thanks God, I've been chosen in New York, best of New York on fast food. On the menu, we have mostly vegetarian. And then they mostly cook with olive oil, and they are so healthy. The difference on vegetable in my cuisine, we never use herbs or any kind of spices to change or add on it. So when you eat any kind of vegetable in this cuisine, you can feel what you are eating. So that's I am very sensitive on it. This meat is 100% of meat, which it is selected meat actually, that it is totally different than they serve on the street of New York. And the difference is, the meat that you see on the street is made a bone powder. So it is not a real meat, and it has the spices that it gives a taste to that bone powder. It's a healthy meat, but at the end there is no taste. Now, the Turkish people, we never use that thing that which is a factorized meat. We make our own, and which it is a layers that it takes time to make it, and you have to have experience to make this thing. So most of the restaurants that you go, they call a gyro is not the meat that we make. And if you taste it at the same time, you will understand there is a big difference in between.
This is my first time here, and I'm very excited about trying this food. Right now, we're gonna order the chicken shish kebab and the salmon salad. Let's see how it goes.
We work across the street and we always come here, and my favorite dish here is lamb shish kebab or chicken shish kebab. It's very good food and we enjoy it.
It was long years ago, I used to own another restaurant. So that night it was raining, but it was pouring outside, and two people, they walked in. At the end of their meal, he wants to speak with the owner. So I came to the table, and he was a good-looking man. He said, "Listen, son, I never ate Turkish food, and I never knew anything about Turkish food since tonight," he said. "You see that rain outside," he said. "If it wasn't that bad, I wouldn't come and eat. But what a coincidence. One rain," he said, "he taught me so many things." And I loved it, he said. That was a beautiful thing that I never forget.
So this has been boiling in the oven for about 20 minutes. It looks like our eggplants are really nice and cooked. Let's check it out. Just want to be careful when you're lifting this because it's going to steam up. All right, it looks really nice and tender. Let's get our serving tray that's over here. And it's hot, so be careful. So what I want to do first is just garnish my plate with some parsley. Make it really pretty. As you can see, we use parsley a lot in a Turkish kitchen. And just be very gentle when you do this. Now we use parsley so much in my house that sometimes when I buy it by the bunch, while my son is sleeping, I'll just clean it up, without washing it of course, just cut the stems off and get it ready for in a bag. So every time I want it, I can just wash it right away and use it. I don't have to waste time on cleaning it or chopping it. But of course you don't want to wash it right away because then it'll wilt. So you just want to maybe clean that parsley up, especially when you're doing a lot of Turkish recipes. Makes everything a lot easier and go by a lot faster. So now what we can do is just take our peppers and place them around. And then what we can do also is just get a little bit of that sauce, that really delicious tomato sauce. We can even pour it over our mixture. So this is our delicious traditional carniere. It looks so beautiful with the great color, the red and the green, and it smells great. I know you're gonna enjoy it. So now I'm gonna just check on our bulgur and then get it ready to serve. So let me check on our bulgur. It's really nice and steamed. Now we can get ready to serve on our serving platter. And what you want to do is just take a fork and kind of flake it up a little bit. Let it get really nice and piecey and flaky. You can even taste it right now. See how your salt is. See how your, very good, delicious, oh my God. This is very good. You can even smell the aroma of the peppers coming up with the onions and the garlic. Just want to mix it all together, and of course I'm going to garnish with some parsley as well. So we love to garnish with some parsley. And this is going to go great with carniere. It's a great balance. It's a great way to cleanse the palate, because that's what side dishes are for, to cleanse your palate, make everything more appetizing. So once you have that on your serving platter, now we can do our little garnish. I have a little chopped parsley from before that I like to just drizzle on the plate. Just like that, and it smells so good. I really can't wait to eat this. I know you guys at home are gonna love it. We'll just put one in the middle. And this is our delicious domatesli bulgur. It's a bulgur with a delicious tomato sauce. And now we're gonna get ready to do a delicious side dish that's gonna complement this perfectly.
Next, we'll meet Lisa Silver, who works in the world of fashion. Lisa's responsible for orchestrating many fashion shows right here in New York City. Our crew met up with her to discuss her past trip to Turkey and how she's remained a loyal friend to Turkish cuisine.
Turkey was a really beautiful place, and of course the Bosphorus is beautiful, and Istanbul is a very vibrant city, and lots of people, and the people were very friendly. And I went to Istanbul, I went to Bursa. My friend is from Bursa, so I heard a lot about it, and so that was more meaningful because I had known about it. I tried Iskender kebab, which is where it was created, at the famous Iskender restaurant. It was delicious. It has lamb, thinly sliced in a tomato sauce, and it is over this kind of fried Turkish bread with yogurt, and it's delicious. I like dolma, the grape leaves, and then I like cacık a lot. It's with the yogurt and cucumbers, put a little salt in there, it's really good. I had a lot of Turkish food in a lot of restaurants in Manhattan, and I have tried to make Turkish food. One of the things that I've made is the dolma. And then I also made the lahmacun, and I may not be saying that right, but it's lahmacun. But it's a kind of a pizza appetizer with lamb on top. I make cacık. I make that often because after I went to Turkey, I got used to the Turkish breakfasts, and I would eat tomatoes and cucumbers and put yogurt on top, and it was really satisfying. And I started buying it here after Turkey. Started making cacık at home. I got lots of souvenirs in Turkey. One of my favorite souvenirs is a Turkish rug. It's beautiful, and I was with my Turkish friend who haggled for me in Turkish. One of the things that's fun to do in Turkey is to haggle with the vendors, and you don't do that in the United States as much, so it was fun, and I got a good discount on my rug. I like the desserts. I don't know what they're called, but they taste good. Honey, butter, pistachios. It's very good.
Now it's time to make a fast and easy and delicious side dish that's going to be a great complement to our karnıyarık. We're going to make yoğurtlu semizotu. Semizotu is watercress with a delicious yogurt sauce. Now what we're going to need for this is some fresh watercress that you can get at any grocery store. Just see the richness of the color, and it actually has a great flavor, watercress. It's kind of like minty, kind of refreshing. So what you just want to do is make sure this is washed and dry, and this is really easy, and it's cold, so you don't have to cook anything. Just cut a little bit of the stems off, and we can just give it a nice thick chop. That's all we need to do. And our yogurt is a great complement to this watercress or a lot of different vegetables like spinach or cucumbers. You can do a cacık, which is a famous cold yogurt soup. And yogurt is actually the #1 condiment in Turkey. We eat it with almost everything, especially meat dishes, because it kind of cleanses your mouth and gets you ready for your next bite. We even have a yogurt drink called ayran, which is actually yogurt, water, and salt. So now what you want to do is just take half a cup of plain creamy yogurt, give it a nice garlic crush, because we love yogurt with garlic. And anytime you're doing this with the spinach as well, just put a little garlic in your yogurt, or the cacık, the cucumbers. Garlic with yogurt, it's like given. Has to be all the time. So we could also add a little salt right now, and just sometimes I like to add a splash of lemon juice. And what we're just going to do is just give this a nice mix. And you see how fast and easy this is? Now if you wanted to, you can even make a salad with these watercress. Of course, the way we do salad is we use the extra virgin olive oil with lemon and a little bit of salt. And then you can make the salad with lots of other things. You could use that dressing with spinach as well, and arugula and romaine lettuce. I mean, so many different variations and possibilities. And what you can do with this is, like, you can get your watercress ready before people come over, and then right before they come over, just take your yogurt sauce that's also ready in the bowl and just spoon it over. It's really easy. And it gives it a different twist, you know, instead of just eating plain cold yogurt with your karnıyarık, you get a little garlic in it with some great watercress. It's really crunchy and crispy, and like I said, refreshing. And what I like to do is just take a cherry tomato. You can just cut it in half, slice it up. And this is a great garnish. It's a great finishing touch to the rest of our meal. Now I have a great sweet surprise in store for you. When we come back, we're going to start on dessert. So here comes my favorite part of the show. It's time to make dessert. What we're going to make today is tavuk göğsü. Tavuk göğsü literally means chicken breast, but it's really more like a milk pudding. So what we're going to need is just 4 cups of milk, a stick and a half of butter, 6 ounces of flour, and 1 cup of granulated sugar. That's it. So what we can do now is just get our milk heated up. We'll put it on high first and then we'll lower it so it doesn't come to a boil too quickly. And I'll just add my sugar to that milk. If you want, give it a nice stir so it doesn't stick to the bottom. Now always when you're making this, you always have to use whole milk. It gives it a much more creamy texture and that much more of a better flavor. So just give it a little mix and wait for it to come to a boil. Now it doesn't have to come to a quick bubbling boil. You just have to wait for it to froth up top and maybe do a little belly dance on top. That's what we call it in my house. So now we can get this big pot ready, and now we're going to take our 6 ounces of flour and kind of just saute it back and forth. So now I'm getting the aroma of the flour. It's really cooking up nicely, and now's a good time to add in our butter. Now we can lower our heat because it's going to sizzle up when we throw it in there. You can already hear it sizzling. And you just want to keep mixing it up. Mixing it up, it's going to become like a mushy, brown, sugary texture. You can even turn it off at this point because all the heat from the pot is going to melt that butter. So once you see that the milk is nice and hot, again, you don't need it to come to a rolling boil. Just a little bit of bubble on top. You see the smoke coming up. You can turn that off. And now we're going to slowly add it to our flour mixture. Now just a little bit at a time. You add a little and then you mix it together until it becomes smooth, and then you add a little more. You don't want to add it all at once because then it'll become really lumpy and it'll be hard to mix. So now just add the finishing touches, the rest of your milk. Now there's a lot of stirring involved. So you women at home that have daughters, get them off the couch, come help you. Because you're going to have to keep standing by it and stirring and stirring and stirring. And it's good, it gives them good practice, right? So once this has been cooking for 5 minutes and those flavors have been blending together nicely, now it's time to run it through the blender. So I have my blender right here. And you could do it spoon by spoon if you don't feel comfortable, or I like to do it just from the pot. Just do it really slowly, and you can see there's very minimal lumps in there. The blender is going to get that all out. And you want to blend this for 2 minutes straight. Now the more you run it through the blender, the more creamy and more gummy it's going to get. And this is going to thicken up when you chill it anyway. So you want to have your Pyrex ready. You're just going to pour it in. You see how creamy it is? It's like pure heaven. That's what it is. Even tastes like pure heaven. So good. So what you want to do now is just get a piece of saran wrap. And we're going to have to cover it. Now this is a little tricky when you're covering it. So if you girls have help at home, tell them to come over and help you. Now it's not your typical wrapping where you just wrap it on top. You have to kind of let the inside fall in right on top of the mixture. Now see how it's like not completely straight? If you're at home and you have a lot of bumps, don't lift it up. Just leave it. If you lift it up, you're just going to ruin it. It's okay if it has a few lines and a few creases. Now you have to let this chill for at least 6 hours. It's going to get really thick and creamy and delicious. So you see how I'm wrapping the inside? Just use your fingers. And that's how it's wrapped. And then you want to put it in the fridge and let it chill for 6 hours, which I've made one from the morning already so that I could show you what thickness it's supposed to be and the consistency. And a great way to garnish this is with some fresh cinnamon or ground up pistachios. That's always how you'll find it in a typical Turkish restaurant. You just want to lift off. And you see it comes off quite easy and clean. There's nothing on the saran wrap. And then you could just take a few of your pistachios and drizzle it on top. And then as you cut the pieces and serve them, you can always add more. I love cinnamon on it. So now we could just get ready to serve our delicious milk pudding. So I have a plate right here. What I like to do is just drizzle a little bit of crushed pistachios on the plate. It gives it a great flavor and texture. Just cut up a little piece and try it and see how it came out. It's going to be very thick, so you can cut it with a knife. So there you go, you just get one piece. And you got to be careful when you're putting it on the plate because sometimes it may break, but don't worry. So this is our famous tavuk göğsü. It's delicious and it's going to go great with the rest of our meal. So here we are at the end of another delicious meal. We've made the karnıyarık or split belly, the domatesli bulgur or bulgur with tomato sauce, the yogurt with watercress, and a delicious tavuk göğsü. And this is just a great example of home-style Turkish cooking. So until next time, enjoy your meal.
Well, that's it for our show. I'm Janine Aloisi, and I'll see you at the same time next week. Until then, invite a friend over for a meal and try out some of our recipes. I'm sure you'll be a hit.